What is up, you guys? We are here for our weekend reflection message from the Radiant Sun Oracle. We've got Saturn in Scorpio, which is inheritance. We have the Moon in Scorpio, which is power. We have Saturn in Virgo, which is isolation. And we've got Saturn in Aquarius, which is eccentricity. Very strong Saturn and Scorpio themes, as you can tell. And so underneath inheritance, which is Saturn in Scorpio, we've got the world here. Underneath power, which is the moon in Scorpio, we've got healing. Another signal to Aquarius. Then we've got Saturn in Virgo with Six of Pentacles. And we have Saturn in Aquarius with Two of Swords. Very fitting, very fitting. All right, so I'm going to pause here and let you guys listen to the audio. It's very brief, and then we'll come back and we're going to unpack the cards. Saturn and Scorpio show up strong in this reading. We're coming to a culmination in inner exploration and soul correction. We've awakened new levels of consciousness and have gained power, strength, and wisdom through our healing. Now we can harness that light within to share with others what we have been given through our journey. We must decide within ourselves with conviction and resoluteness to remain disciplined and consistent in showing up to reveal this light through aligning with and living with true purpose. Our destiny is unfolding with every choice. What reality will we choose to manifest? So we have Saturn in the 8th house here of Scorpio. Saturn is the most mature of all of the earth signs in the zodiac. Saturn is about discipline and bringing something into fruition and like perfecting the systems and practices and disciplines that yield the fruits, right? Saturn is pragmatic. Saturn asks for action, discipline, consistency, and efficiency, right? Practicality. So Saturn brings things into materialization through the manifestation process. Saturn also has, like Capricorn is also a cardinal sign, right? So it's got that initial like creation spark energy within that. Well, in pairing with the Scorpio sign, it's like Scorpio is very internal. The 8th house has to do with the occult and death and taxes, but also with like when it's paired with like a physicality, it's almost like representing our tikkun, like our soul's tikkun in this life and the work that we do to correct our soul. And like the way that we have to have like the internal spiritual revelation and lessons and the spiritual realization, but as well as the materialization and the embodiment of that new consciousness in our physical, in our actions, in our the way that we are in life, right? So we have to take that spiritual wisdom and apply it to our choices and our actions and how we're living and how we're showing up in our day-to-day and our week-to-week in our lives, right? So we see this with the pairing with the World card here. The World, we are at the end of the major arcana. And when we start the major arcana, it's like we are born into a journey, our spiritual journey, and we are starting at ground zero, the full. And then we become self-realized and go through a process that each one of the major arcana cards represents a stage in the awakening, like an archetypal symbolic stage in the awakening of the human spirit, of the human soul. So once we get to the world card, we've come full circle. We've culminated our growth, we've come full circle, right? We've completed the cycle of awakening and experience. So I doubt very seriously that we've come to our final correction and we are finished and like we're at death's door now. But I think that we have come to a certain level of like a graduation or like a talisman point, where we are at the completion of a cycle within cycles within cycles, and we're ready to begin anew. The world card often says things like lesson learned, lesson complete, you are free to go in any direction now, right? So there's a certain level of tikkun correction, I believe, that we have completed that is going to allow us to move forward to the next stage of our destiny. Right? Because sometimes we get held like in holding points and holding patterns because we need to correct something or finally like embody a lesson before we can fully move forward. And I think that we are in that phase right now where we have embodied, we have graduated, we have passed with acceptable marks to move forward through to the next chapter. So we've got the moon and Scorpio here. Again, we have these like hidden depths, and it's like we've been soul searching on a deep level, and we've been going into the unconscious, and we've been going into the things that have been previously hidden from our awareness, and things that have been dark and murky and shadowy, and fears that we've not wanted to face, and insecurities and truths about ourselves that we have not wanted to face. But we did do that. We showed up and we did the work, and we looked for those things within us, and we did the emotional healing. Because of that, now we have the star card here. And that it's like sun and moon are coming into unity. It's like we've brought things into revelation, and now it's like there's true healing and integration happening here. We see the waters of consciousness and spiritual healing are flowing. The water bearer is pouring out the waters of spiritual cleansing, and the star here is like that star of hope and faith that good things are coming. It's like a promise of a new like guidance towards a new horizon, a new direction, right, through the dark. So when we have the star card here, not only does that signify a deep level and a significant level of healing being achieved, but also the boon that comes with it is that it's going to reveal maybe a goal or a manifestation that we hold dear to our heart, right? Maybe we have a blessing that's attached to that's going to come through very shortly. So very good, very exciting. So in the meantime, what we need to do is we've got Saturn here with Virgo. Virgo is all about like perfecting things, right? And the whole process of soul correcting is bringing ourselves into spiritual perfection, right? But the point is not so that we can live in perfection and harmony, but so that we can be a beacon to help others also achieve that as well. So another thing about Virgo is humanitarian outreach and being of service to others and being giving, right? And so it's like we're using, and this Six of Pentacles is about like charitable giving, and also being on the receiving end of unexpected charity or a windfall that we didn't see coming. So it's like being in a gracious balance and harmonious balance of giving and receiving. It's like we receive all this light from the Creator and from the universe, and we receive this healing, and so we need to give of it as we have received it so that others can join us, right? Because many people feel alienated and isolated and disenfranchised, and they very much, are. And there's so much that needs our assistance and our help on this planet, and it can feel overwhelming. Like, where do you begin? Which thing do you help with? How do you help? Where do you even start? There's so much. And it's like, if you can just, whatever tugs at your heartstrings uniquely, and where can you be of service that lights you up, and that helps you overflow into donating something to someone or something else, right? The planet needs help, animals need help, people need help. So there's plenty of need for everyone's unique talents and gifts. So it's, we are seeking that healing and that awakening and that elevation and that redemption, not just for the self alone, so that we can be at peace and have harmony and fulfillment, but so that we can help others achieve it as well. And so that we can help make the world a better place. And so that we can finally end our own contribution to more darkness by changing that within us, so that we don't add to the darkness, but we transform it and continue to expound on the goodness. So also, the lessons have been coming up this week about giving what you want to receive, or if you want to receive something, then wish that for another, or, be glad for another to have it, or give what you want, right? If you feel like you want a friend, then be a friend, kind of thing. If you feel like you want support, then make yourself useful and be of support. Like, many times, if we want something in our life, the best way to get that in that vibration in our life is to give that thing. And a lot of times it's hard to give that thing when we feel like we don't have it, and that signals that we're in a consciousness of lack. But when we can give what we want to receive, it's like we're shifting into a consciousness of I have and I'm giving. So, if we are jealous of someone for having what we don't have, feeding the dragon of that jealousy and that envy and the covetousness cuts us off from receiving that thing. But if we feel that jealousy and we recognize it for what it is, what it is that we see that not only is that thing possible for us, but it's a signal that it might actually be for us in some way, in some form. And so we can see that is possible, and that person has it, and therefore it's possible for me too. And so then we're also seeing, though, in a negative sense, but this is good because it's being brought to our attention, that if I see that they have that and that I think that I can have it too, but it makes me jealous and it makes me uncomfortable, then what I believe unconsciously is that I lack that thing. That's what I'm projecting out into the universe, is that I lack that thing that I want. So it's like when we are jealous, it's helpful because it shows us our lack mindset that we need to shift, but it also shows us what we believe that we are capable of, and we recognize on a soul level what we are capable of. And we see that another is doing it, and we see that it's possible, and we see their example giving us, road signs and, points along the way, right? So setting that example, paving the path, right? So give what we want to receive. And then eccentricity, Saturn in Aquarius. So this is about I heard one of those recordings, and it wasn't Ram Dass, it was maybe Alan Watts, or maybe it was AI made to sound like Alan Watts, but this sounded pretty good either way. It was good information, but it was talking about how the illusion is that it takes time to change. But he was saying that in the reality, all it takes is a shift of your mindset, is a choice, making a choice to change. And so part of the difficulty of Libra, and we just had our new moon in Libra, is that we have a difficult time making choices and being decisive and just making up our mind about something. We go back and forth, and we see all sides of it, and we empathize with all sides, right? We see the pros and cons, and we see it almost equally. So it's like it's sometimes hard for a Libra to just make up their mind and be decisive about doing something. And so when we're in these times where, like, say the moon is in Libra, or we just had that big Libra new moon, we're all being affected by Libra themes. And we're in this month of Scorpio. So it's about that transformation and looking at our like looking at the soul work that needs to be done and doing that work, looking at the unseen, the unknown parts within ourselves and making them known so that we can decide differently. So this month is about choosing a new mindset, choosing a new consciousness, and actually following up to determine within ourselves with power and conviction to go in that new direction, to be that new creature, to be that new person. And so ultimately we can get a vision in our head and we can get clear on the essence. But in order to become that, we have to decide within ourselves with determination to just do it and to take action. And so that's why this Two of Swords is here with this eccentricity. It's like eccentricity with Saturn is like having the discipline to get control of our mindset and focus and be motivated and follow through and take action and be decisive about it. Just make the choice and own it. Don't get stuck in overwhelm, paralysis, going into rabbit holes, overdoing the research. Just be decisive, take action, follow through, and don't let your head spin out of control. Right? Take ownership over your thoughts and your focus and your energy, and follow up on divine guidance and divine inspiration. And if you need to pivot, then make a change, but it's not the end of the world, right? That's so many times what prevents us from making a choice is like this paralyzing fear of making the wrong choice. When we can just test the choice, see how it works, and then if it doesn't work out, then okay, fine, we pivot, right? We make a different choice. We make a new choice. So I think that this is a pivotal week for deciding within ourselves to have a new consciousness, to be a person who wants to bring others with us, and choosing to love one another even in our disagreements, and embracing the hardest parts of our tikkun correction. One of the differences between, I just heard this pointed out, and I can't remember by what teacher, I think that Rabbi Shais Taub was talking about the difference between Noah and Moses. And this week we've been in the portion of Noah. And one of the distinguishing differences is that Noah came first and Moses was incarnated after Noah and Moses are the same person, but Moses was reincarnated after Noah. And the thing is, what made Noah less evolved than Moses was because Noah was living in a time where Noah and Noah's family were the only righteous people. The earth was perverse and out of control, and it was losing the plot. And so they were, taking advantage of ancient, like secret wisdom and using it in these dark ways. And so Noah and his family were the only righteous souls on earth at that time. And so God told Noah that he was going to take out the earth in a deluge, in a flood, and that Noah's family would be the one saved and repopulate the earth, but he had to build an ark and he had to go within that ark. And so Noah symbolizes the part of us that when we need to, when the life brings the storm, it's like, yes, we do go in and we do the righteous work, but it's like we want to go hermit away and we want to shut out the storm and we want to go into a safe ark and hide from humanity and leave. It's like that tendency for us to want to leave everybody alone and go up into the mountains and isolate and escape the world system, right? And justifiably, Noah was remembered as a righteous soul and a patriarch, right? But you fast forward to his incarnation as Moses, and he was brought back to do this correction because even though he was righteous enough to repopulate the world and start the world over, he wanted to receive for the self alone, and he left behind humankind because they had gone so dark, right? And so he abandoned humanity and chose to elevate and to start over without them. Moses, however, we see the difference. Moses would not leave without his people, and God gave him the choice. God said, you know what, Moses, I can start over. I can take you out of this. I can start fresh with you, and you can create a new people. We'll start a new people with you. But Moses kept defying God and saying, I will do this, but I'm not going to leave anybody behind. I'm taking them with me. And not only did Moses take his own people, he brought outsiders, which he was warned against bringing the mixed multitude and what that would create and the chaos that it would result in, which it did. But he would not leave anybody behind. And that's why Moses was an even more elevated soul and was able to do even greater miracles because of his desire to receive for the sake of sharing and not running away and taking care of the self and leaving everyone behind. But even in the people's wrongness and their difficulty, they worshipped the idol of Bel after they had made the covenant with God who had brought them out of Egypt, out of slavery, part of the Red Seas. They turned their back on that God and worshipped an empty idol after that. And Moses was like, oh my God, I can't believe these people, but I can't forsake them now. I'm still not leaving them. And God was like, all right, and so Moses fought to keep the people together. He fought for unity. So we are kind of in this moment where, we are at the do we Noah, do we Moses moment, where the tendency is to want to isolate and hide away in an easier pursuit of our own righteousness, doing it in the cave, in the mountains, away from all of the antagonizing triggers. But the real miracle, the real light that's revealed, the real thing that's going to tip the scales for the world right now is if we stick with it and stay in the dirt with each other and pull through. Right, because another time it was brought up in my the Daily Zohar portion this morning. My teacher Etienne was saying that when the Babylonians built the Tower of Babel, it was because of their unity and their insight into a couple of pieces of spiritual technology that allowed them to be almost unstoppable. Even in the face of God, God and the heavenly hosts were they are so unified and they know these couple of secrets and they're executing them to such a degree of unity that even almost we cannot stop them from what they're doing. So when God was able to, and they were using these spiritual technologies to alter reality and they were messing with big major things, right? And so in order to confound them, when God had an end, so to speak, he brought division and confusion and miscommunication between them so that they would no longer be unified and separation would weaken them. So the secret here too is that when we have unity, we are almost unstoppable. And when we have division, nothing can last very long. Nothing will make it. Nothing will sustain. Nothing will survive. And so with unity, though, we can disagree with our brother or our sister or our neighbor. That is going to happen. But we cannot have hate in our heart towards them. We cannot wish them harm, right? We have to maintain a sense of love for one another and concern, but we cannot have hatred towards them. So it's okay to disagree, right? Fervently, even. But it's not okay to hate or wish harm on someone else. That's what brings the separation and the division. All right. That is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow for our Saturday night secret sermon, which is our Secret Teachings of Jesus episode. We are in the Gospel of Mary, and I'm really excited. We've covered so far the first 3 portions of the Gospel of Mary, and we have done a 2-part introduction talking about the significance, both social, political, and archaeological. So that has been really cool. Go check those out in the Secret Teachings of Jesus playlist. And then if you haven't already, I would highly suggest watching the Libra New Moon Tarot and Oracle workshop. That was really fire as well. So peace be with y'all. Ciao.